Okay, we're still talking. I'm doing some work. My routine for the last 2 days is if I speak like this, and then I lay down outside. And I'm not sleeping. I'm in a little pain right now. But it's like drained completely. I just went out my front door. So I'm trying to do my normal cleaning and throw in the trash. God is my witness. There is a note. It's not on the door. I don't want to lie. They probably couldn't get it in the door because they got a storm door. It's laying right in front of the door. And it's from a Mexican judge in South Texas. I'm going to save the note. But it's got the name and everything on it. And it's not fake. Okay? It's professionally done. And I don't know if I ever got one like that from that particular person. I want to talk about, I'm going to give a little information. I'm not a lawsuit person. And in my various dealings with Social Security, I caught them in many things that were illegal. For instance, initially when I requested, I want all my documentation, every medical record I ever sent you. Now I had CAT scans done at a big, Saratoga Medical Plaza, possibly. And I had them here for a few years, the whole x-rays, the big ones, and other things. Now all of that was actually physically mailed off at request for Social Security or given down to they got it. So at one point, in all these dealings, I said, I want you to now give me, as I'm appealing cases, I said, I want you to give me a record of all our transactions, all my medical records. Initially, they did not want to do that, and they just ignored me. And then I had to write them back. I'm representing myself. Therefore, I'm the legal representative requesting this from you. The fact that I did not get a lawyer, who more than likely there's connections in this town, it gave me the ability to continue myself to ask questions, and then they finally sent the information. But they didn't send me all of the original stuff. They sent me on a digital drive. Okay, this is one of the many things. Now, as a firefighter, we had medical records for many years at the firehouse, which were from the ambulance. And it used to be that the Kingsville Record or the newspaper reporters, they would come in every Tuesday or whatever, and they would openly look at fire runs and the medical runs. I don't think any of the media here do that in Corpus Christi, but they did that in Kingsville. But then there was a change of the law, I don't know, many years ago now, 20 years ago or 18 years ago. It was called the HEPA laws. The HEPA laws was a federal change in the handling of medical documents. No longer are they allowed to just be, flippantly handled. So this can be a class action suit that could bankrupt Social Security, but I did not pursue it. But they knew I got them. I said, where are the original documents I sent you in this correspondence? Then I gave the passage of the HEPA laws, gave the number. I said, simply because I and others signed a release of our medical records to you, you're required by law to have custodial oversight of those records, meaning this. If you transferred the records to digital file, you have to document the manner and the day that those records were destroyed. And if you cannot tell me what you did with my medical records, as in if you put them in a dumpster, then you just violated the law. They probably have done that. I might have been the one that tipped them off when they got that letter and sent it to their top legal attorney at Social Security, and they might have even changed it. They never responded. But now anybody that had any dealings with them in the last 20 years, since the passage of HEPA, they've been violating their federal law you could bankrupt that system. Do you see that? And they didn't respond, but they tried to probably correct it. Now, why the race thing? I was just listening to Immanuel Kant on some of my philosophy teachings, and he deals with things I've talked about a lot before. All right. Why do you believe that there's an inherent racism from the comment that a Hispanic man made to me at Social Security? If I were you, I would sue. Which through his statement said, oh, you're qualified, you're more than qualified, but you're white. Okay. I do a lot of social justice issues. One of them is called reparations. And I like philosophers like Cornel West and Eric Dyson and some of the more black liberal scholars that a lot of conservatives hate him. I like Cornel West. Well, some argue for what's called reparations. Reparations basically means this: the history of the country. I just wrote earlier, I didn't post it yet, it's going to go up on the Ephesians post. But reparations is this: because of the tragic history of the slave trade and the slaves that were brought against their will to America. And you know the history of it, most of you. Reparations is the concept that a lot of the wealth that was built, a lot of the big organizations, companies and all, that was really done on the backs of free labor or slave labor. And though we try to seek equity in society, yet all of that past wealth building has never rightfully been transferred to the ancestors of the slaves. Now this is a very liberal view called reparations, and more radical left view leaning people hold that as an honest view. You have the same principle with the Mexican culture, particularly in South Texas, because of the history of Texas, the Alamo, a very great history, and it has a lot to do with Mexico. You have a professor out of California, and there's even a group, I forget the name of it, but they seek for the breaking away of some of the southern states into independence, not just Texas Republic independence, but Mexico taking them back. Some hold that view that there should be a fund funded by white people, where the funds can be then reparations to the Hispanic culture. Meaning, if we can have the white man work to pay for his crimes of the past, and have a system where that the white man's money can be distributed to the Hispanic community, just like reparations. Some hold that radical view. In this community, some hold it. They wouldn't openly say that. What would be the way you can do that? It would be very hard for Congress or anybody to pass an out-and-out reparations fund. White men work, money go to black men. White men work, money go to Hispanic men. The Social Security Fund could do that, you see. The Social Security Fund and some of these more radical reparation views, and this is South Texas, it can be honestly viewed as the fund. It's not openly said, but the fund is there, funded by the white working man to provide reparations for the sins against the Hispanic people. Now, I think that's played a role in a lot of this, and it's very sad because there's been a lot of open bias. So I actually do believe that Annie Thomas J. Henry, I didn't pursue that class action lawsuit for the, what I told you about the HEPA violations. That could bankrupt Social Security. And I wouldn't mind them getting bankrupted because of the way they took on money and misused it. I've had a lot of friends in prison. And years ago, there was a law that when you were in prison, your disability stopped. And some of the guys I helped, even at the halfway house I was doing, I forget his name now, we had a nickname for him. His nickname was Weasel. I liked him. But I was helping those guys, and he was paying back Social Security because he did like 12 years in prison, or some time in prison, and they paid him. They weren't supposed to back then. And so when they catch it, when you get out, oh, wait a minute, we paid you all that money. Okay, so the guys have had these situations. But then somebody filed a class action suit. One of my friends informed me of this, as far as I know it's true. And a lot of my friends that had records that never got paid all those years, he said, John, I got a $17,000 check one year, it's a few years ago, then $8,000. He even wrote them and said, I don't need these checks. He was working for Stripes or 7-Eleven years ago. He said, I couldn't believe they were distributing that money. Now, it's not necessarily the fault of Social Security in this instance, but the uptick of murders and crime rate, if you look at the stats, all that distribution of the money, it went in. And remember, I'm not condemning any particular person you ever see me with, but I'm saying, remember, they were approved early on, a lot of those cases, with histories of drug addiction, crime, all types of things. And they were approved at young ages with no work history, less than I have. So why would they do that? So I give you that note. I did indeed get, I'm looking at the note right now. It's from a Hispanic, you could say law enforcement person, right in this Flower Bluff. And it was right on the ground, like a message was sent. Okay?